Welcome back to Danny Rants. Today we have a very unique guest. This guest doesn't work in the music industry, but she's definitely been involved in it just as much as anybody else, probably from the sidelines. I'm interviewing today for a first, and probably the first time we've gone into my life into a more of a personal level, my wife. So welcome to their seat across from me, my wife, Sarah Jane Grant. How are you?
Wow, full name. Thank you. How are you going?
Not bad. You nervous or what?
It's just a bit weird. Feels a bit like a job interview with my husband. It's a bit strange.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, we'll get stuck into it. So firstly, I find this odd, but when people know what I do and they know how long we've been together, that blows their mind. So can you explain a little bit about when we met, how we met? Not even how we met, like what age and how long we've been together, a little bit of an overview of us.
Sure. So I was probably nearly 19, I think, and we met through mutual friends at Crown Casino. And then we just sort of started going out to the old school TFU together. You may or may not have broken a glass on my foot one or two times.
Nah, once.
Once.
What's the yarn? Tell the yarn.
So we'd just been out and then we went to TFU and I thought you were scary. You scared me because you're a bit crazy. You had half your head shaved, you had all these earrings in your ears. Probably not much to do with it, but I went to a private school, so the people that I grew up with weren't like you. We just sort of started talking and my friend said to you, I believe, she won't date you or something like along the lines of that. And then I think it became a bit of your mission to
prove her wrong. Yeah, with the glass incident, from memory, it was the first time I met you. I think it was your birthday. And then I met you early in the day at Crown, and then I was fucked up, which I was often at that time of my life. And I was trying to talk to you, and I dropped the glass on your foot, and it broke, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Okay, we kind of touched on that, the other part, like with our relationship. So we've been together for 19 years now. With our relationship, it's a yin and yang. So anyone who meets us, it blows their mind. So for some context on that, I guess from my end, I'll explain is that for those that don't know, I grew up in a very chaotic household. Drug and alcohol was very prominent in my life. I moved a lot. I wasn't a foster kid, but I lived with every single person in my family, grandparents, aunties, uncles, whatever. I lost my mum, which I've mentioned before, to drug addiction. I lost my stepdad to the similar sort of things. We'll go into that a little bit later. And I was not great at school. I was very, very naughty.
You're very clever though.
Clever, but I was a bit of I would say, I was on the wrong side of the law, and then your life was the polar opposite. So can you explain how you grew up?
Yeah, so my mum and dad been together, they just had their wedding anniversary yesterday. 30-something years, I think, been married now. Just very normal childhood. Both my parents, all my family were around me, went to private school, which I just said before. Polar opposites. And
so you talk about polar opposites, and that's always been a theme that's run through our relationship when people meet us and whatnot. But when you first met me, you said that you were scared of me. I was a little bit crazy and erratic. What was the turning point that made you become attracted to somebody and I'll mention this, and I'm not going to say no offense to your ex-partners, I don't really care, but they were very much, in my opinion, nerds and squares. I'm sure they don't think they are.
I think you're a nerd though in your own context.
Yeah, I'm a music nerd.
Yeah.
But it's they were very much nerds and squares in the comparison of my lifestyle. So I'd grown up, watching a lot. My life was mayhem. I'd seen a lot of fights, sex, drugs and rock and roll. And these guys were a lot more tamer than me. So maybe nerd's not the right term, but they were very, very tame. So from someone that you'd met, the most craziest thing that maybe ever happened was someone getting a tattoo at your school, to meeting someone like me who'd basically lived 3 lifestyles before the time I was 18. What was the allure eventually?
That you fought for me. So I think in the past I'd had people that sort of walked all over me a bit, whereas you didn't do that. You fought for me. So you stood up for me, so something would happen and you'd have my back always, which I guess I didn't really have before. I felt safe with you.
You're sort of talking it down, a bit of PC version, the old had your back. What do you mean by that?
You've been known to get in a few biffs. Multiple times.
Not so much now though, thank God.
No. So it was, there was definitely a pivotal moment in your life where something flicked in your head and you stopped punching on. But it wasn't the punching on that I liked. It was that you stood up for me. So if someone said something to me, you always were there, and you held me close, and you made me feel safe. It wasn't the punching on, but yeah.
Tell yourself that.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that retrospect, like obviously I was wild. Yeah, there's no denying that. And at the time, I guess I was probably borderline alcoholic. I was drinking like 5 times a day. I was doing a lot of recreational drugs, and I was going through a lot. Like it wasn't just, obviously I was living that lifestyle, but it wasn't really a choice. Like I'd grown up pretty fucked up. What was it like for you dealing with that at the time? And even maybe explain some of the stuff that was going on when we first met, which would have been a stark contrast for yourself and the way anything you'd seen prior.
Yeah. So no relationship is perfect. So we have our issues. We've gone through hell and back in certain cases, and then we're so good in other respects. So I don't know. I think that maybe I had a part in helping you get through that and trying to show you it doesn't have to be like that. Life doesn't have to be like that. Family life is not like that. Like my family, I love my family, and I think that you came into my family and you saw that what it was like to be in a loving family and respect and all that sort of stuff. And so I think that maybe that helped you to grow and not think that that was normal, like what you were living as a child was normal. And I think now, 19, 20 years later, we don't live like that. That's not our life. We have kids ourselves, and we have normal friendships with friends. We don't drink all the time, and it's not like that. So yeah, I think I had a part to play.
When I first met you though, I was probably going through the worst part of it, right? So can you remember what was kind of going on at that time?
Yeah, so just you were always looking for arguments. You always had your back up, like fight or flee. You fought all the time. So when we first met, you obviously just lost your stepfather, which I guess was a bit confronting for me because I hadn't dealt with anything like that before. I still had all my grandparents at that point in time, so I hadn't even lost a grandparent to sort of liken that to. So yeah, you were definitely going through the struggles of life.
And he passed away from suicide.
Yes. So again, something that I'd never dealt with before. And I guess I like leaned on my mum a bit in that as well. So I sort of confided in her, and she helped me dealing with what you were dealing with so that then I could be my best self for you to help you deal with what you were dealing with. Yeah.
And at the time too, I was obviously moving around a lot. I kind of came into your house. I think we'd known each other for 4 months and I moved in with you.
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
Yeah. So at that point in time, we had actually discussed it, and you were living out of your car, so you didn't really have a place to live. You'd gone from grandparents to auntie to another auntie, back to your grandparents, and then you had nowhere, and you were sort of living out of your car. And you didn't tell me, but I sort of picked up on it. And so then we had discussed about maybe moving out and renting somewhere, and I'd gone to my parents and said, look, this is what's happening. This is what we're going to do. And my parents sort of said, no, you're not doing that. You're young. That's silly. You're not putting money into a rental property. Why doesn't Danny come stay here until he gets back up on his feet, and then he can find something else, or you can figure out what you're going to do. So yeah, we were together for like 4 months, and my parents, credit to them, they did a really good thing, I think. And you stayed how many years?
I think it was like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So we lived in what we call the guest house in my family, but that ended up being like our little sub house from my parents' house. So we had our own space, which I guess was good. It was good for us. It was good for my family as well. So we could have had our separate places.
For me, I was like, this is fucking mad. So I'd gone from like living in.
There was one thing that you did not like though.
Yeah, but I'd gone from like, going to different auntie and uncles. I used to live out of a literal garbage bag because I knew I would move. So I had not a lot of belongings. Like I had, maybe 7 pairs of clothes and that little alien thing from Independent Day that I've kept since I was in grade 3, and some random items. I don't have photos really. I don't have really anything from my past, like any sort of stuff from school or any of that sort of stuff. I packed pretty light. But I remember going to your parents' house. We had Foxtel, Wi-Fi. There was an intercom. I got fed every single day.
Intercom.
There was multiple breakfast options in the cupboard, and I'm like, we are fucking living it up. I thought I'd hit the jackpot.
So that's why you're with me.
Yeah. No, because I remember at the time I was like, this is fucking mad. Like I've never had this. And then obviously the normality and the security of that sort of, that time was for me something that I'd never ever seen. And then I think that I yearned for it pretty quickly. And then that's why I sort of got myself back on track.
Yeah.
Without that opportunity, I don't think I ever get myself back on track. I'm probably, locked up or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're too clever for that, but yeah.
Too clever. You reckon I could just commit crimes and never get caught?
Not commit crimes, but I think you're just too clever to think that's not the right way to go.
Yeah.
I definitely think that yes, how we grew up and my parents giving you that go and all that sort of stuff, I think that had a part, but I think, yeah, you would have figured it out and worked out how to make money because you are so resourceful anyway in life when things go wrong. So I think it would have happened anyway.
Do my best work when everything's on fire.
That is true. And it freaks me out, but yes.
I feel like I procrastinate if things are good.
Yes.
If things are fucked, I'm like wicked. Like that's like my time to shine.
Well, COVID, perfect.
Yeah,
example.
I'm going to go into that. So we'll stay on track with this. So I guess touching on that, like that initial meeting part, things were pretty rough. Well, we got some cement in our feet for both of our relationship. But is there any memories that you've got of like, one of those points where other than dropping the cup on your foot, where you saw something and those early stages where you were just like, what the actual fuck have I got myself into?
What have I got myself into? So yeah, there was one time you've been known to sleepwalk. You still do it occasionally, which drains my life. But and for anyone who doesn't know, you probably do know if you're close to Danny, but he tends to pee when he sleepwalks, which is so much fun. But this one time, so I'd never seen it before, his eyes are open, he's awake, he'll talk back to you, you'll ask him a question, he'll respond and it'll be in context, but he is dead asleep. But this one time, so he just moved into my parents' house and he'd gone to the front door of the house, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, it's the middle of the night. And he's like, I've got to give tickets to Lamana. Shout out Lamana. And I was like, that's weird, middle of the night, whatever. Okay, he does weird things like that, so it could be something that he would be doing. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it. And then he comes back in and I said, why was Lamana here in the middle of the night? And then you got all confusing and it didn't make sense anymore. And then I knew you were asleep. And then I tried to wake you because it had never happened before. So I didn't really know how to deal with it. And then you woke up and you freaked out and you ran and you left the house and you piss bolted away from the house. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Where is this guy gone? Anyway, I got in my car, pink Suzuki Swift, drove down the court of our house. We lived in a court, and I found you in a tree hiding like a little kid. And yeah, I was kind of like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
So I wasn't living with you then, so you know.
You weren't living with me?
Because I remember waking up, and because the part you missed out is that I was pissing on the bedside table.
Yes.
So the part you missed out is that I was like, okay, I'll fuck this up.
Sorry, yes you were. I'd forgot that. Yes you were.
And I was like, okay, I'll fuck this up. And for me, I guess it's fight or flight. Fight or flight.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, still to this day, I struggle with that. But it's back then, if something happened and we were out, I would either fight or flight. And in that situation, I'm obviously not going to fight you in the middle of the night in your parents' guest house. So I decided to flee. And then that's what I would do. Often, if something went wrong, I would move, I would change, do whatever. That was one of my coping mechanisms. And on that period, I remember waking up and being like, what the fuck? Being scared, running, hiding, and then being like, I'm just never going to talk to this person again.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't come found me in that.
But I found you, yeah.
And maybe return.
And maybe that's a reflection of my character because I don't let things go. So.
Yeah. So then and that's one of a million times.
A million times, yeah. So
and
maybe I should have taken not that route.
Maybe you should just let me go.
Yeah, no. Never.
Your life would have been less chaotic.
Never.
So
less fun.
In that week, there was an incident at the pool room in the same week. So you would have had a crazy week. You've gone from, doing not much.
Was that the same week?
It was the same week, yeah.
What is wrong with me? The old poo room in Venture Gully?
Yep.
We were there with your sister, actually. So your sister had come down from Queensland. So it was the first time I'd met your sister as well. And we'd gone, was it Christmas?
Yep, Christmas Eve, I think.
Yeah.
The day before.
Yeah, that big party that you used to have at Christmas Eve, day before Christmas Eve. And me and your sister were dancing on the dance floor, and these guys were sort of away from us, and then they sort of came towards us and they were dancing with us. And I had a singlet top on, I think, but it was the Stevie brand, so Scratch and Sniff Stevie brand, if anyone remembers those. He also had the T-shirt on with a scratch and sniff. And so then I was like, he's like, scratch my T-shirt, sniff my T-shirt. So we scratched and sniffed his T-shirt. And then you came up out of nowhere and hit this guy in the middle of the pool room, and we all got evacuated, and mental. So that's another crazy story.
I think it's a reflection of your character. Those two incidents happened.
Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing.
And you decided
actually.
to stay with me after you've met me for 4 months and let me move into your house.
Yeah, we didn't tell my parents those stories though.
Well, they're going to know now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was early stages. And obviously, like, as you said, that was something that was pretty common. Like, chaos was my sanctuary in a sense. Like, I loved
I'm glad you've grown out of that though, because
Yeah. So moving on from there,
hectic.
I guess we've started a life. We bought a house. We've done all these different things. I guess there's probably talking about is there things that people always ask me, right? So there's questions already people always ask me, and they're like, how does your wife deal with what you do? So you've had two parts. You've had the early days where I was completely chaotic and off the rails, insane, and then now where I would like to think that I'm pretty measured, but I'm still pretty wild and chaotic. What have sort of been, I guess, some of the struggles, but also at the same time, your experience living and how you've dealt with that?
Yeah, so I guess people always ask me, like, how do you deal with your husband always out at nightclubs with females everywhere, all the time, with their boobs out, their ass out? And I don't know, you got in a relationship, you got to have trust. So you can't be together for 20 years and not trust someone. And I think, like, because I came with you all those years ago, very, very early, so I could see what you were like out when we were out. And you're not a flirty guy. Like, you're not sleaze, Chaos Girls, for example, shout out Chaos Girls, they say all the time that you're one of the guys that doesn't crack onto them or make them feel uncomfortable or anything like that. So I see that in your character and I trust you, so I know that that's not what you're like and what you're about. Yeah, so there's two questions. One is the trust thing, like how do you trust him? The other is do you get annoyed that he's out all the time? And it's actually the opposite. So when you were out at nighttime all the time, that was like your time to go out and work, obviously, but it was my time to have by myself. So we had our time during the week, and my old job, I used to have Sunday, Monday off. So we had like our weekend during the week, which I thought was really cool. We could go do stuff during the week when people were normally at work. So before we had kids, I found it so, like, it was good. You had your time, I had my time, we had our time off from each other. Now that we obviously have kids and all that sort of stuff, I don't know any different. So it's always been our relationship. You've always been out at nighttime and stuff like that. Even last weekend you were out and you ring me at 10:30 at night. Was last week?
Yeah, last Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, last Sunday. And you're like, oh, I'm going to go to the after party, blah, blah, blah. They've told me about the after party. And I was like, cool, I'm going to go to bed. So whatever you want to do kind of thing. But that's so normal in our relationship. We don't, yeah. And likewise, I'll go out. You don't put a time limit on me or like say that I need to be back at a certain time. I think that's why we work, because we are so good at just letting each other do what they want to do and then coming back at the end and having this good cohesive relationship.
I think it's the yin and yang. Like, I want to go be in loud places with music and chaos, and you don't. You want to watch TV and eat chocolate in a
I do other things that just.
But I'm saying you do enjoy that, whereas I don't. Like, I hate sitting there, and I hate, like, I have to be in the mood to be able to watch a movie. You know, it's maybe once a fortnight or a month. So I would prefer to be out, like, stomping my feet in a place or whatever, which is odd to people. But yeah, one of the biggest questions that people always ask too, same as what you just said, is that, like, doesn't she get annoyed? But I'm like, really? Like, I guess people don't know this. But
and just to add on from that as well, like, I see my friends that have like husbands that are tradies and stuff like that, and they're out from 5 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night because they own their own business, all that sort of stuff. You're there in the morning. So I go to work in the mornings early. I leave you at home with the kids. You get the kids ready to school. You take them to school. So it kind of works. Like, because you do these things at nighttime, we have this good happy medium, and I think it's beneficial for our kids as well because you have all this time.
I see them more than someone else would.
Yeah, but you have all this time, just you and the kids. Like, and I feel like there's some dads that don't have that. They just have like a family. They all go do something together as a family, but they don't have like dad and kid time. Whereas I feel like you have a lot of that, which I think is beneficial for you and the kids.
And I think a lot of people think I don't because they see me out at nighttime, so therefore they assume that I don't see the kids or you.
Yeah.
And it's actually the opposite. I definitely see you guys probably more than anybody we know.
Yeah.
And then another one I could mention is that I say to people all the time, they're like, well, how does your wife let you do that? Because it's not unusual. Like, to be fair, realistically, on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I would like to be out watching a band or going to watch music, not necessarily nightclubs.
Yeah.
If I could every single night. I don't, but I would. And it's like, I know, but I always drop
Sometimes I have to pull you back in line because sometimes especially this time of year, there's so much going on and there's lots of things happening. I'm like, no, come on, like tonight, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I know this is
And you respect that though, you do.
I remember like another one which would probably blow people's minds, but I remember I was watching a movie and you were in bed and then I got a text message saying Kid Leroy was playing at Billboard at midnight. And then I remember walking in and you're like, I got my pants on. You're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, Kid Leroy's playing at Billboard. And you just like, yeah, all right, sweet. Like I just fucking went off and you're like, I'm going to bed anyway, I don't care. So that's why I think people, that's the part that they don't understand is like, obviously you've got trust and you've got, it's obviously self-confidence to allow me to do this. But what people don't realize is that I basically am leaving when you're going to bed. So you're not even missing me. Like it's like, if I leave at 10:30, you might go to bed at 11. I'm back by 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
And then I'm up sometimes even earlier than you still. So
yeah,
it's like, it's sort of time that lacks time we're not doing anything anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there any other things that you get feedback? Do people ask you questions about like our lifestyle that they find odd?
Yeah, well, so I think everyone thinks that we live this glamorous life, which yes, there are so many perks with what you do for work. Having pre-sale to ticket launches, that is a massive perk.
Getting Taylor Swift tickets before.
Getting Taylor Swift tickets, yeah. The kids were mind blown when they got those.
Never have to worry about missing out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people think that we just live this glamorous life and that we're just out all the time and partying and all that sort of stuff. And there are struggles too. Like you don't go to work every day and have a paycheck that just comes in. It's a bit different now, but back in the day, you didn't just have this normal money that was coming in. So I don't know.
Do you want to explain how that used to be? Because like I guess people wouldn't know how that used to work, but it was like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah, literally a roller coaster. Obviously, back in the day it was a bit different because like parties and events and stuff back in the day in Melbourne used to run all year. So it was still a roller coaster, but now like I feel like summer is when it's so packed and busy all the time and that's when you make all your money, and then winter completely goes down. But back in the day, I think it was more consistent. If anything, you still ran things in winter, do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Have I got that right?
That was like clubbing season back then. It was
yeah. And I think now it's changed definitely since COVID. I think it's definitely changed. The whole scene is different now. But yeah, so what you asked, there isn't a normal paycheck coming in every single week. So some weeks, there was nothing. And we just sort of had to work it out, get by. Back in the day, there was lots of cash though, which was schmeek.
No, there wasn't ATO. But yeah, no, so like that was the thing I guess people don't realize is that we would be flush with cash. Like we might have lots and lots of money in safes or bank accounts, depending on if there was
bank
cash
accounts.
around. Yeah. And then there would be points where, we were like looking to borrow cash off people or using credit cards or living week to week. And then because I had to buy my wage, which people don't understand. So like if I would have a big summer, that money would then get reinvested back into me trying to get more money out of the next summer. So I'd have to spend, say I made 100 grand, I would have to spend 50,000 on my next thing and I have to pay up front to then try to make 75,000. So there'd be these periods of like ups and downs all the time, and that I guess people don't, ebbs and flows is the term that people don't really understand.
Yeah.
When I was living with your parents, at the time I was only working realistically one night, like 2 nights or maybe 3 nights a week or whatever. How was it, do you think, for them with watching me have a lot of cash, because I did back then, I had a lot of money, and I was sleeping until 11 a.m. at their house and not really working a lot? Do you think that would have been strange for them?
Definitely. I've never asked them actually what they thought about that. I don't know. I think, so my dad has said on multiple occasions that when he first met you, he was like, what the hell is she brought home? Like this guy, like he's not like what we would expect for our daughter, but kind of thing. But he has said on multiple occasions that very quickly he saw the character that you are and how you protect me, and that was all that he could ask for his daughter. So yeah, I guess that he just trusted that you were making correct decisions, and going down
I feel like no parents are like, hopefully when my daughter grows up, she marries a nightclub promoter, tattoos, half-shaved head, covered in earrings, with a broken home, who effectively was homeless at one point. Yeah. I don't think that's on anyone's tick list, but it sort of worked out, eh?
Yeah. And I guess, I don't know, maybe they also trusted my opinion. I don't know. Like maybe they thought that they'd shown me what was the correct thing to do and that I was making the correct decision for myself as well. So maybe they had trust in me as well.
So working in the industry, early days used to be my door bitch or door girl. I think the term is, or door person is probably the correct term now. You definitely were a door bitch though, good one. So you worked for years and years and years at what places for us?
Oh, lots. Main one was Corova, Fridays. But yeah, lots. Any event that you did, it was generally me that was on the door. Yeah, fun times.
And what kind of stuff did you see being a door bitch? Like no doubt there's some storylines there that no one, that I haven't even seen. What was the sort of stuff?
Yeah, lots. Lots of intox, lots of fighting, lots of poo change that they would come in, so they'd bring their $10 to get in, but it was all in silver change because they were not buying drinks on the bar. Yeah, lots of crazy stories. I probably shaped me as well. Working on the door at such a young age probably shaped how I then went out as a person of my own caliber, because I saw the bad that came with it and I didn't want to be like that. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Do you have any crazy stories you can remember?
Crazy stories. Well, there was one that you were heavily involved in at Corova that happened in the nightclub, and then it spilled out onto the road, and it ended up being in between the tram track, on Burke Street. Someone may have taken a poo on the tram tracks as well. That was pretty crazy.
For $10 actually.
I'm not saying who it was. Yeah. I don't know. I guess because I was around it all the time, it didn't seem weird. It just seemed, oh, that's happening over there. Like it wasn't odd to me. I guess much like you've said that before in your things, that it doesn't seem weird to you because you're around it all the time. Yeah. So I guess because I was around all the time, every Friday working there, parking in this awful car park that you walk down in and you see people off their faces or asleep on the side of the road or fights that happen on the road. It wasn't uncommon, and I guess I can't pinpoint an exact point because it happened all the time. Not to say that there wasn't good times as well, because there definitely was. Like I saw so many people having the times of their life, and there was so much love in the room as well. But yeah, there's definitely not one pinpoint time that I can say was super crazy because I don't know, nightlife, it happens.
So someone looking to be a door bitch, what's your advice? Like obviously it's a pretty strict job. People always trying to rip you off and shit. Like what's your advice for someone being a door bitch?
Yeah, stand your ground, definitely. You can't be soft, you can't be nervous, anxious, anything like that. You've just got to stand your ground. You're always right. Regardless of what they tell you, you know what the correct response is, not them telling you. And just
Become friends with the guards.
Yeah, become friends with the guards. Do as you're told. They'll give you lollies if you're really nice to the guards.
Obviously, we got married pretty young. I think their after party, not we didn't attend, but the after party for our wedding was at Tramp, which went into the early hours of the morning. At our wedding, there was the who's who of Melbourne nightlife. Experience in working with these guys. Is there some people that you've met throughout your time that you know are favourites, or and what's your sort of general consensus of working or being around for so long nightclub people? Is there any like being around nightclub people?
They're a certain type of person for sure. It's funny, you and all the nightclub guys will all get together and you're all exactly the same. You all have these in jokes. It's crazy. You're all the same person. You're all music lovers. You're all music nerds is what I say. So yeah, you're all a certain type of person and you're all super crazy and super into music, which it's really cool because that's your thing. That's what gets you guys hyped up, and it's so cool. There's one specific time when we're at Hello Sunshine and I was on your shoulders and you were listening to Grimsby, one of your childhood favourite bands, and you just watching your face do that, and it was an event that you had put on. I thought was super cool because it just showed how much you love it. Like you're not in it to make money like you are. You make money obviously off it, but you're in it for the love of it. Which I think is super cool. And the people in the industry that we've become friends with, that we're close with, are the same. So some of the people from back in the day, like there's heaps, but Mike Metro, Stevie Mink, Keith Renata, Stevie Nadella, Lamana, Luke, Kieran, there's so many. But
they're your faves, you reckon? Is that your list
Mango,
of faves?
Hey?
That's your list of faves.
Well, I don't know. They're just the old ones. They're the ones that we used to knock around with every single week. Yeah.
And is there like a favorite, like a cool, like obviously you met a lot of famous people throughout your time hanging around me.
Yeah.
That's one of the perks,
I know
right?
what you're leading me into, and you're going to make me say Dom Dollar, but
So I'm not actually. That's on you. But I know you're probably going to say because you got a fucking. That's your whole pass. I'm pretty sure. But of all the famous people you've met, or some of the famous people you met, is there one A, a favorite, and B, who's the most famous person you met, sort of through it?
yeah. Well, so Dom, I love Dom. I think he is a really, really genuine guy. Sometimes you meet people that are not genuine. They're not nice people, but he legitimately is one of the nicest people that I've ever met in this industry. And he deserves all the goodness that's coming to him because, yeah, he's so deserving of it. So, yeah, Dom.
Cool. That's all right for that. So during that period of time, we went back to the wedding. This is where I was sort of leading at. You've met all these crazy people, thanks to me, maybe not thanks to me, but you've met all these crazy people. But we get married and we have the time of our life, and then we deal with probably the most chaotic thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
And I was so fucked up about it, I can't even talk about it. But do you want to run through what happened to us after we got married?
Don't do that. So yeah, we got married. Oh. So we got married, obviously one of the best times of our lives. Everyone says it, but it really was. It was a great day. We went away on our honeymoon. We'd been in Mexico for 2 weeks, which was amazing. If you ever had the chance to go to Mexico, go to Mexico. It's amazing. And then we flew to Vegas.
Yep.
And we landed in Vegas. It was nighttime, and one of our mates had messaged Danny and said, "Can't get onto Aposta." So Aposta is one of Danny's best friends, and in turn my best friend through Danny. And he said, "I can't get onto him." And your immediate response was, "Oh, he'll be sleeping," because he used to do that a lot. He used to sleep all day. When we were younger, he would come over to our first house and sleep all day. I would get up, go to work in the morning, he'd be asleep. I'd come home at nighttime and he was still asleep in his room. So it was not uncommon for him to do that. And so he's like, just go to his house and go wake him up. Like there's always like, go to his house and just go wake him up. He'll be there. And then the next call you got was him saying, I'm at his house, there's all these cars there. And yeah, our mate had passed away when we were on our honeymoon, which was awful. It was awful. It was one of the most awful things that I've ever had to deal with. We were together, so I don't know if that helped in any way, that it was just me and you and we could just deal with it together without all the outside stuff going on. That came with a con as well because we felt like we were so disconnected from everybody else and what everyone else was dealing with it. But yeah, that was awful.
And that really fucked me up.
Yeah.
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 Sorry. Of all the things that I've had to go through or we've gone through together, would you say that was the hardest one that you had to watch me deal with?
Yeah. Proof in the pudding. It's still a big thing. He was unlike anybody else. And yeah, it still affects you every day. But he's up there and he is protecting us. Our daughter is named after him, Andy. And yeah, he's got our backs for sure.
I'm going to do one bit that's not as depressing as that, and then I'm going to go back into another like kind of hectic thing. So other one is I'm a dad, obviously. You're the mother of my children. We're parents together. People don't know this, I'm about to drop another bomb, but basically I am in a touring artist, DJ duo, and I travel the world, and I travel around Australia pretty often the last 18 months. I'm not going to say what it is because it's a secret. Because of that, you often have to stay at home on weekends and you have to take care of the kids and stuff like that. How do you deal with me flying around the world, literally flying around the world doing that?
Again, it just is another line that we travel down together that I just deal with. It's just a part of life. The kids don't know any different. When the kids were when our first was first born, you were running the food truck carnival, so you were so busy with that all the time. You were always out doing that. So yeah, they don't know any different either. They just they they see what you do when you go away, and they think that's so cool anyway. So they're getting a different perspective of things, and they love when you come home again and you're back there again and you're spending time with them. So they probably don't understand the measure of the things that you do right now, but I know that they think it's pretty cool what you do.
So what do you reckon the pros and cons are of having a dad in this industry? Or husband too?
Pros and cons. Ooh, it's well, the pros I said before. So the perks of being able to get tickets for basically anything that we want to go to. Taylor Swift, so many people missed out, and you managed to get 4 tickets. So my sister-in-law also came with us. She's a mad Taylor Swift fan, so she got to come too. So that's definitely a massive perk.
Free drinks.
Yeah. Another perk is probably that we get to have the best seats in the house. So we get to go side of stage. We get free drinks wherever we go. Now that you've gotten older in your life, you're very respected in your industry, which is a credit to you. But in turn, that means that I'm also very respected. People connect me to you, and I'm treated very, very lovely, very, very nice in the industry as well, which is great. I don't see them as cons. People would say that they're cons, that you go to these things and that you're not around, but it's life. Like the father, the dad, the husband, they're not around all the time. You have to go to work. It's just different times of the day that you're not around compared to another husband or a dad. So yeah, I don't see it as a con. It is what it is. It's life. You move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I guess the other one too is a misconception. We talked about misconceptions that people think, but people assume that I'm a very big drinker and we're into drugs heavily. So firstly, have you ever done drugs?
Never in my life.
So I think people will find that very, very interesting. You've never touched drugs. You've not really been much of a drinker. You probably drink more now than you used to. But their misconception is, when I meet people, they assume that I'm hungover when I've been out.
Yeah.
But for those playing at home, what's it like? Am I a party animal? Do I do a lot of drugs?
No. So our house is completely stocked to the brim of grog, and we literally don't touch it. Like it literally just sits there, and sometimes it goes off because it sits there for so long. So you are not a big drinker. Yes, people imply that or say things like that, and it's not true. People that know you for who you are, don't think that, because obviously you're not like that. But yeah, people on the outside probably have that perception.
Or assumption.
Yeah. Because that's what the industry is, I suppose. But anyone who knows that actually is in the industry, people are not like that. Like we don't.
Some are.
A small minority. The people that are successful, that are doing it all the time. No, I don't think. Do you?
There's some. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it's definitely the minority. Yes, I agree.
Well, maybe not the people that I'm seeing all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe are not like that, but yeah, no, no, you're definitely not a alcoholic or a drug addict or anything like that.
I
wouldn't be with you if you were.
I would actually go as far to say I probably drink less than my mates who don't go clubbing, go out as often as I do. Like
who are you throwing under the bus?
Well, I'm just thinking my tradie friends, like they drink and party probably more than I do. Would they not?
Yeah.
Even though I guess it's partying, but I'm on the dance floor, because I love it and passionate, whatever. But they go out, they get absolutely
more often than not, you will go to an event and not drink because you don't want to waste time going to the bar and getting beer or going to the toilet because you got to pee. You don't want to miss out on the show.
So go to the dance floor.
Yeah, correct. You want to be on the dance floor.
That's the best spot.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not pissing during the fucking banger. Last one we'll touch on. So in the industry, the biggest moment that ever happened in a whole entire industry, one day in March 2020, out of nowhere, our industry gets shut. So we're plush, we've got a nice home, everything's going well. We've just had 2 daughters at this time. You're not working, you've not worked for 4 years. I've sort of hit a really good, steady part of my life. Income's great, my business is great. And overnight, we get told by old mate Donald Trump that the world's about to shut down, and then it completely fucking blows our world up. Yep. Can you run us through what that was like for you as a partner, and then I guess what happened and what transpired and the things and changes we had to do to get through that?
Yeah. So a little bit of background before I go into when COVID happened. So you were sort of going through this period in your industry life, like work life, where you maybe thought you didn't want to do it what you were doing anymore. So you thought maybe that you would sell out of your club, which you did, move on from nightlife and maybe go onto a different path. And then basically COVID happened and you were forced to do that anyway. It was stressful. It was really, really stressful. Everyone knows what it was like in COVID. I don't need to go into that, but it was really stressful for the music industry / events / all that sort of stuff. Anywhere that people had to, that the general consensus was to go in big groups of people, we obviously couldn't do. So it just completely shut down. And it was stressful because we lost instantly all income. And it's not, like I said before, it's not like you go to work and you get a paycheck every week. It's not like that. So if you're not running events, you're not doing things, you're not getting paid. So when COVID happened, that literally just stopped altogether straight away. And at the time, there was no government funding for anything. That wasn't a thing. So we were stressed, like, how are we going to pay our mortgage? How are we going to pay for this kid's childcare fees? How are we going to, what am I going to do? So yeah, it was hectic. I went back to, I was already working at that point in time.
You're working like a day a week.
Yeah, I was working a couple of days a week.
But pretty quickly you had to go to full-time work.
Yeah,
like,
so I went to my
week.
work, and thanks to my work, they put me back on straight away onto full-time. No questions asked. So I worked full-time, and obviously we were working remotely from home. And so you were home, the kids were home, I was working. It was stressful. And you pivoted. You found another stream multiple times through different things, dogs, pies, eventually booze.
Well, when you say dogs and pies, so
Yeah,
I was delivering dogs, pedigree dogs across Australia, and pies. I was making these little handmade pies from home and selling them online.
Yeah.
And then I also worked at a bottle shop, worked at Melbourne Market.
Yeah.
I pivoted, I did all right, but I was working at night time. We're trying to make money from my lounge room while you were out there working full time. You're the breadwinner.
Yeah. And it was an adjustment to our family life as well, because I was so used to you not being around a lot of the time. So having you there all the time was odd. It was weird. I think we probably grew from it. Like, I think it helped. Like, I don't know, not helped. I think it was just a change that we adjusted to.
It was a unique situation,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like most people, I became daddy daycare and I took care of the kids, and they were, I did all the chores for them. I worked at night time at the time to get through. But it was like most people don't have 2 years off to become, while the wife becomes the breadwinner and you become the stay-at-home dad. So it's a unique sort of situation that I dare say not a lot of people have gone through. But how was it watching me deal with what I sort of fell in love with and done for the last 16 years get decimated?
Yeah. You were shattered. You were completely shattered by it. You went a bit crazy at one point in time. You started ranting online. Danny rants. You started ranting online that everyone needs to watch out and you're all going to lose your work and rah, rah, rah. So you went a bit crazy, but I think everyone did. Everyone thought the world was ending and that everything was going to shut. But that's just the process of going through what everyone was dealing with COVID. Yeah.
I've said this before, but I think the biggest thing that I felt with which was hard, and it's really hard for anyone to understand because no one's ever gone through it.
Yeah.
But like, you talk about before perks, we get stage tickets, you get to meet, most of the time we go somewhere, you get to meet the artists, we guaranteed backstage passes, we don't really pay for alcohol, we roll up to a club, we get let straight to the door. Like, these are the things that we've become accustomed to, we live, right?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you become someone, and then overnight you become a no one because your industry no longer exists.
Yeah.
So that whole
you
thing,
just lost what you were. Like, you were Danny Grant who ran this event, that event, blah, blah, blah. And now you weren't.
working part-time at a bottle shop.
Yeah, and at the bottle shop, I think maybe that's what sort of kept you a bit sane, because you're working with people that you worked with in the industry. So you still had banter, you still had the same sort of conversations that you were having normally at work when COVID wasn't happening. So maybe that's what helped keep you a bit sane, which is eventually how 80 Proof was born. Yeah.
Yeah, so watching it off the back when we all came back together with my industry, like, what was that from the sidelines looking at?
It was so good to see, but also it was so up and down because the restrictions went back and forth so many times. So there was a lot of like joy and happiness, but then all of a sudden it was taken away again. So then it was straight back down to the thing, and we're going to go through this again, and lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was a very up and down period for sure. Yeah.
And was it good to see everyone get back together? Because I feel like now everyone loves each other more.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still dramas with certain people, but yeah, no, definitely. I think everyone just is in it for the love of it. Like, we didn't have it for so long. And Melbourne is that's what Melbourne is. Melbourne is events and going out and enjoying live music, live sports, all that sort of stuff. So when that was all taken away, it took Melbourne's identity away. And I think, as Melburnians, we've come back and hopefully buy tickets so that people can still go out and enjoy this stuff, because otherwise things are going to close.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool, we're going to wrap it up because this is the end of the interview. Thank you, Sarah. I love you. Thank you for coming down and sitting here across from me. Second to that, lastly, just as like a final note, if someone is thinking about dating someone who is in this industry, what would be your final words or a piece of advice?
Ooh. Do it, but be ready for what's to come, because, it's pretty hectic.
Hold on. Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride, yeah.
Not just out there, also in the bedroom.
Oh, my God.
No, I'll cut that out. Okay, cool. So lastly for me, I want to say, and I've probably never said it, this is the most personal probably interview I've ever done. Without you, I'm not where I am, I believe. You know this, I feel like this. If I didn't get those security and the stumps that I probably needed and yearned for my whole entire life from you and your family, I can't take these crazy risks and, build myself up to be the person that I am. I think the fact that I went through all that, maybe the person I am now that's so grounded and I believe humble, and I've never really got a big head in my opinion. Yeah. But I would say without you, I'm not here. Like, I'm not successful. So I credit everything for that. Other than that, you're the mother of my child. I love my children. They're the best thing that happened to me in the whole entire world. Piper and Andy, obviously. And then second to that, you're my partner in crime, my best friend. And I absolutely love you to death. And I'm so thankful I've found you to allow me and understand that how much I love this and how passionate I am, and that you let me do it. And I know that there's times when you'll, like after COVID, when I ran my first event, you'll have tears in your eyes watching me enjoy what I do. And you're a very special person to allow me to do that, because you let me live my dreams. And then you get to live them too with me. But I think you've just been the best partner ever, in my opinion, because I've been able to do this. And I don't think a lot of people won't. I think people watching this, they watch this because they're like, how the fuck does she deal with this guy? And then the fact that you've figured out a way to do it has let me live this amazing life that I feel like I deserved. Yeah. Any other thoughts from your end?
That's very kind of you to say that you attribute it to me. But I think, like I said earlier in the podcast, you would have done it. I have every faith in that you would have done it anyway. You're a very clever person. You're a very driven person. You can find the route to get to where you need to get to every time. So thank you. I love you too. I love our family, but yes, you would have done it yourself.
Last minute before I close this up, so I'm not doing the housekeeping.
And we're not moving to Brazil, by the way.
So everybody that watches it was like, how do you live with him? Am I annoying? Am I insane at home?
Yes.
Am I more insane or less insane than I am online?
What you see online is what Danny is. He is insane. He has these quirks. He yells all the time. He doesn't pick his shit up ever. He's crazy, and it's hard to deal with. But also, it makes him who he is. He's so creative in spite of all that stuff. So, wouldn't have it any other way.
Awesome. I'm going to cut this because Aiden's got someone coming up and he's going to murder me.
Thanks, Aiden.
Thanks for everyone for watching. You guys are legends. Leave a comment below, because why not?